Remind my viewers again, I mean, we're not talking about big mining developments digging up sort of kilometres and kilometres of earth. This impacts anyone with a block of land over about 1,100 square metres, so, could be a big block of suburban land. You only need to move the soil down to a depth of about 50 centimetres. That's not deep. That's a good, decent hole for a bare-rooted tree. You only need to move 20 kilograms of dirt before you trigger all this Aboriginal compliance. And if you don't do what the Act says in WA, the fines for individuals are anywhere from $25,000 up to $1 million and as much as $10 million for corporations. It's pretty draconian.
Oh, this is socialist state gone mad. I mean, if you inadvertently break the law, you could face up to 2 years imprisonment. That is not knowing what the law means for you, and no one in WA knows what the law means. And you're quite right. I'm calling this the secret Labor takeover of the Aussie backyard, because 1,100 square metres down my way, down in Tassie, a quarter-acre block is not an uncommon piece of land. And if we have a national piece of legislation that replicates the madness in WA, then this is the kind of thing you can expect. And I think that is grossly unfair. And as you said in your introductory remarks, it undercuts that great Australian thing, the Aussie dream, the backyard and private property rights. I mean, we should not be allowing this. And I tell you what, for Labor to try and claim that this is some bipartisan thing because we agree that we should have addressed the Juukan Gorge disaster, the destruction of the rock art, well, this is not the answer to that. This is beyond sledgehammer with, chestnut. This is much worse and will damage so much more of our economy than they even realise.
Well, just on this whole vein, I mean, you're a Tasmanian, as we know. Tasmania's long had a thriving and sustainable logging industry. I want to get your reaction to information we've seen in the media this week that half of Labor's branches are out there backing draft motions ahead of the national conference in Brisbane, mid-August it is, Labor's national conference, urging the Albanese government to end all logging and all land clearing, which of course land clearing impacts farmers.
Yeah, I've spoken about this a couple of times in the Senate and my Labor colleagues just laugh it off. Don't worry, it's nothing to worry about. But this is Labor policy that they are going to be determining at their national conference. Their platform guides what they do. Now, we've asked Murray Watt, the Forestry Minister, we've asked Tanya Plibersek, the Environment Minister, do they stand by our forestry industry, in particular native forestry, which is the one that's normally in contention? And they never back it in. They'll never stand up for it. And we've seen what happened in WA, where they've banned native forest logging, sending it offshore. They've banned it at the end of this year, as we've discussed previously in Victoria. And I will guarantee to your viewers, it's coming to every other state in this country, courtesy of the Labor Environment Action Network, which is going to take over the joint. So if you think you're seeing draconian environmental laws today, just wait till after National Labor Conference. It's going to be a horrendous time. And we've got our work cut out for us in the coalition, and we are going to fight very, very hard to ensure that that madness does not become law.
How does it make sense, Senator Duniam? I mean, obviously there's a huge impact for jobs and regional economies in logging and other things, of course, associated with forestry. But trees are renewable. I mean, you cut down, it sequesters carbon, but if you cut down a tree, you can replace it with a tree or replace it with 2 or 3 trees every time. I mean, it's not a finite resource.
Exactly right. And by law in Australia, when trees are cut down for productive purposes in a forestry setting, plantation or native, they're to be, and particularly in native, they're to be replanted. So your point about it being renewable is exactly right. And as they grow, they suck in carbon, you cut it down, the carbon's stored forever. But if we ban forestry in Australia, particularly native, we're still going to want those beautiful hardwood products, the floorboards, the coffee tables, the staircases, the window frames, but it will be coming from places like the Congo Basin, where they rip it out of the ground, they don't replant it, and there's even allegations and claims around there being tinges of modern slavery attached to the products that we rip out of these forests and import into Australia. We certify our trees, we manage them to world's best standard. It's good for the environment, but Labor just don't want to see this happening in our backyard. They want to send it offshore so everyone in downtown Melbourne and Sydney feels okay about it.
Thank you for unpacking all of that, Senator Duniam. Absolute common sense.